In a move that highlights the deepening geopolitical tensions between China and the United States, the Chinese government has announced sanctions against 13 U.S. defense firms and 6 senior executives in response to recent American arms sales to Taiwan. Effective December 5, 2024, these sanctions will freeze the assets of those blacklisted and prohibit them from engaging in any business dealings with Chinese entities. Furthermore, the individuals involved will be barred from entering China. If you are new to our channel, please leave a like as well as a sub so you never miss another video. This decision by the Chinese Foreign Ministry is distinct from the broader trade tariffs and sanctions that have been imposed by the U.S. on Chinese companies in recent years. It is a targeted and strategic reaction specifically aimed at punishing American entities involved in supporting Taiwan, which China views as an integral part of its sovereign territory. To fully understand the context and implications of this latest development, it is essential to first examine the long-standing and complex relationship between Taiwan and China, which lies at the heart of the current confrontation. The early inhabitants of Taiwan, known as the indigenous Formosan or native Taiwanese peoples, have a rich history spanning thousands of years. These Austronesian-speaking communities have genetic and cultural ties to populations across Southeast Asia, the Pacific Islands, and even Madagascar. Despite now constituting a minority of Taiwan's population, the officially recognized indigenous population numbers approximately 633,000, accounting for about 3% of the island's total residents. This figure excludes non-status and unrecognized indigenous groups, whose total population may exceed 800,000 or even 1 million when considering those of mixed ancestry. Taiwan's indigenous peoples are considered the original inhabitants of the island, with their ancestors believed to have settled there around 15,000 years ago. They have played a significant role in the island's history, maintaining vibrant cultural traditions and linguistic diversity, with historically around 26 known Formosan languages, of which at least 10 are now extinct, 5 are moribund, and several others are endangered. The first notable Chinese influence on Taiwan came during the Ming dynasty, 1368 to 1644, when the island experienced increased interaction with Chinese fishermen, merchants, and farmers, particularly along its western coast. However, Taiwan remained largely autonomous from mainland China during this period, with its indigenous Austronesian-speaking population maintaining dominance over the island's interior regions. The arrival of European colonial powers in the early 17th century marked a significant turning point in Taiwan's history. The Dutch East India Company, VOC, established a trading post in present-day Tainan in 1624, naming the island Formosa, derived from the Portuguese Ilha Formosa meaning beautiful island. 2 years later, in 1626, the Spanish Empire also established a colony in northern Taiwan, near present-day Keelung, seeking to expand their influence in East Asia. The Dutch eventually expelled the Spanish and consolidated control over Taiwan, establishing Fort Zeelandia in Tainan as their administrative and commercial center. The Dutch presence facilitated the influx of Han Chinese settlers, primarily from the Fujian and Guangdong provinces, who were encouraged to immigrate and work the lands under Dutch control. By the 1660s, the Chinese population in Taiwan had grown to an estimated 30,000 to 50,000 individuals. The arrival of European colonizers and the subsequent Han Chinese settlers significantly impacted Taiwan's indigenous communities. The Dutch allied with certain indigenous groups, such as the Soraya, to strengthen their control over the island, but they also engaged in military campaigns against other indigenous villages that resisted their authority. The Spanish, on the other hand, focused on missionary work, aiming to convert indigenous populations to Christianity. These interactions led to cultural exchanges, but also to conflicts and disruptions of traditional indigenous societies. In 1661, Qing Qinggong, widely known as Koxinga, a steadfast loyalist of the fallen Ming dynasty, initiated a significant military campaign against the Dutch colonial forces in Taiwan. After a protracted 9-month siege of Fort Zeelandia, the Dutch capitulated, leading to the establishment of the Kingdom of Tungning. This kingdom, centered in present-day Tainan, served as a strategic base for Ming loyalists aiming to reclaim mainland China from the ascendant Qing dynasty. The Qing dynasty, intent on consolidating control over former Ming territories, viewed the Kingdom of Tungning as a significant threat. In 1683, under the command of Admiral Shirlang, Qing forces launched a decisive naval assault against Tungning, culminating in the defeat of Xingjing, Koxinga's successor, and the subsequent incorporation of Taiwan into the Qing Empire. The Kingdom of Tongning holds profound historical significance as the first predominantly Han Chinese state established in Taiwan. It symbolizes the enduring resistance against foreign domination and the tenacity of Ming loyalists during a transformative epoch in Chinese history, with its legacy continuing to influence Taiwan's cultural and historical identity. Following the Qing dynasty's annexation of Taiwan in 1684, the island was administered as Taiwan Prefecture, a subdivision of Fujian Province. The Qing government regarded Taiwan as a frontier territory, primarily focused on maintaining security and stability. To this end, they implemented policies aimed at assimilating Han Chinese migrants and suppressing indigenous resistance. Despite initial restrictions on Han Chinese migration, unauthorized settlement persisted, leading to a significant increase in the Han population. By 1811, the number of Han settlers had surpassed 2 million, resulting in the expansion of agricultural activities and the development of profitable sugar and rice industries. The influx of Han settlers encroached upon indigenous lands, leading to tensions and conflicts, such as the Zugli Rebellion in 1721 and the Liding Rebellion in 1786. Recognizing Taiwan's growing economic importance and strategic value, the Qing government elevated its status to a full province in 1887, establishing the Fujian Taiwan Province. This reorganization aimed to strengthen administrative oversight and integrate Taiwan more closely into the empire. Significant infrastructure projects, including the construction of Taiwan's first railway, telegraph lines, and the introduction of electric lighting, were undertaken to modernize the island and enhance its connectivity with the mainland. The Qing dynasty's defeat in the First Sino-Japanese War led to the cession of Taiwan and the Pescadores Islands to Japan in the Treaty of Shimonoseki in 1895, marking the beginning of 50 years of Japanese colonial rule. During this period, Taiwan underwent significant modernization as Japan sought to transform the island into a model colony. The colonial administration undertook extensive infrastructure projects, including the construction of railways, roads, and ports, which facilitated transportation and trade. Public health initiatives, such as the establishment of hospitals and disease control programs, improved sanitation and healthcare, contributing to increased life expectancy. The Japanese also implemented educational reforms, introducing a formal education system that emphasized the Japanese language and culture, leading to higher literacy rates among the Taiwanese population. Taiwan's economy experienced profound changes under Japanese rule, with a focus on agriculture and the promotion of cash crops like sugar and rice, turning the island into one of the world's leading sugar producers by the 1930s. Industrialization efforts also took root, with the development of mining and manufacturing industries that integrated Taiwan's economy into Japan's imperial framework. However, alongside these advancements came policies aimed at assimilating Taiwanese society into Japanese culture. The Koxinga movement encouraged the adoption of Japanese names, customs, and Shinto practices, while traditional Taiwanese cultural expressions were suppressed. The use of the Japanese language was mandated in public life, further advancing the assimilation agenda. Indigenous communities faced particularly harsh treatment, with uprisings such as the Tainan Incident in 1915 and the Musha Incident in 1930 being brutally suppressed. Japanese rule in Taiwan came to an end following Japan's surrender in World War II in September 1945. The island was placed under the control of the Republic of China, ROC, government led by Chiang Kai-shek, as per General Order No. 1 issued by U.S. General Douglas MacArthur. This transition marked the conclusion of 5 decades of Japanese colonial rule and the beginning of a new chapter in Taiwan's history. While the local Taiwanese population initially welcomed this transition, anticipating liberation from Japanese colonial rule, the ROC administration soon became synonymous with corruption and mismanagement, leading to widespread dissatisfaction among the Taiwanese people. Tensions culminated on February 28, 1947, when a confrontation between agents of the State Monopoly Bureau and a Taiwanese widow suspected of selling contraband cigarettes in Taipei resulted in the death of a bystander. The following day, mass protests erupted across the island, demanding reforms and an end to government corruption. The ROC government under Governor Chen Yi declared martial law and deployed military forces to suppress the uprising, leading to the deaths of thousands of Taiwanese civilians, in an event known as the February 28 Incident or the 228 Incident. Following the establishment of the PRC in 1949, both the PRC and the ROC government on Taiwan asserted themselves as the legitimate government of all China, leading to heightened tensions that culminated in the Taiwan Strait crisis of the 1950s. During these periods, the PRC conducted artillery bombardments on ROC-controlled offshore islands such as Kinmen and Matsu, aiming to erode ROC authority and test U.S. commitments to Taiwan's defense. In response, the United States intervened militarily to support Taiwan, including deploying the 7th Fleet to the Taiwan Strait and signing the Formosa Resolution of 1955, which authorized the U.S. president to employ armed forces to defend Taiwan and the pescadores against armed attack. These actions solidified the U.S. role as Taiwan's protector during the early Cold War era. Despite persistent political tensions, economic interactions between Taiwan and mainland China have expanded significantly since the late 20th century. Taiwanese businesses have invested heavily in the mainland, with approved investments totaling over $200 billion from 1991 to 2022. This economic engagement has led to millions of Taiwanese working or residing in China, fostering extensive cultural exchanges and tourism. However, these interactions are periodically disrupted by political disputes, reflecting the complex and often contentious nature of cross-strait relations. For instance, in 2021, China banned pineapple imports from Taiwan, citing pest concerns, a move widely perceived as politically motivated. Additionally, Taiwanese investment in China has seen fluctuations, with approved investments reaching about $3.4 billion in 2022, the lowest since 2001. Amid rising geopolitical tensions, the United States has played a pivotal role in the dynamics between China and Taiwan, with its actions often intensifying tensions across the Taiwan Strait. A significant factor contributing to these tensions is the U.S. policy of arms sales to Taiwan. In November 2024, the U.S. approved a $385 million arms package for Taiwan, including spare parts and support for F-16 fighter jets and radar systems. This decision prompted strong objections from Beijing, which views such sales as infringements on its sovereignty and a violation of the One China principle. In retaliation, China has now imposed sanctions on 13 U.S. military firms involved in the arms deal, including companies like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Brink Drones, as well as freezing the assets of certain executives and barring their entry into China. High-profile visits by U.S. officials to Taiwan have further exacerbated tensions. A notable example is the August 2022 visit by then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit Taiwan in 25 years. Her visit was met with vehement condemnation from Beijing, which conducted large-scale military exercises around Taiwan in response, signaling its displeasure and readiness to assert its claims over the island. Additionally, transits of Taiwanese leaders through U.S. territory have been contentious. In December 2024, Taiwanese President Qing made stopovers in Hawaii and Guam during an overseas trip, during which he engaged in phone conversations with U.S. congressional leaders, including House Speaker Mike Johnson. These interactions, though unofficial, drew sharp criticism from China, which opposes any form of official contact between the U.S. and Taiwanese officials, viewing it as a challenge to its sovereignty claims. The U.S. military's presence in the region also plays a role in escalating tensions. Regular transits of U.S. naval and air assets through the Taiwan Strait are conducted to assert freedom of navigation in international waters. However, these operations are perceived by China as provocative. For example, in November 2024, a U.S. Navy P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft flew through the Taiwan Strait, prompting China to deploy naval and air forces to monitor and warn the U.S. aircraft, accusing the U.S. of attempting to mislead the international community. Ultimately, the Taiwan question remains a complex and highly volatile issue, with deep historical roots and far-reaching geopolitical consequences. As China and the U.S. continue to clash over this pivotal matter, the risk of miscalculation and unintended escalation looms large, underscoring the urgent need for diplomatic solutions and crisis management mechanisms to prevent a potentially devastating conflict. Thanks for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like as well as a sub so more people can see this.